The hearings begin. It's day one of the Senate confirmation debate over Judge Amy Coney Barrett, a Catholic mother of 7. We have a report and reaction. Back on the trail, President Donald Trump is in campaign mode. We have the latest, including what his doctors are saying. Face to face, Cardinal George Pell and Pope Francis hold a private meeting. We're at the Vatican. And path to sainthood. A look at the beatification of Carlo Acutis this past weekend in Assisi, Italy. On EWTN News Nightly for Monday, October 12th, 2020. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Mark Irons. It's the first day of Judge Amy Barrett's confirmation hearing for her nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court. Presidential candidate Joe Biden says Senate Democrats should make health care the focus, not the judge's Catholic faith. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales reports. Eric?
Well, Mark, we had opening statements today. That's about all we got through, and Republicans really chastised Democrats for going after Judge Amy Coney Barrett's Catholic faith early on. But during the opening statements, Democrats really didn't touch that. What they did focus on, one common goal, health care. And they claim that a vote for Judge Barrett is a vote to end the Affordable Care Act.
With a nod to deceased Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I have been nominated to fill Justice Ginsburg's seat, but no one will ever take her place.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett outlined the kind of Supreme Court justice she would be.
I believe Americans of all backgrounds deserve an independent Supreme Court that interprets our Constitution and laws as they are written. And I believe I can serve my country by playing that role.
Democratic senators on the committee used their time to criticize Judge Barrett's perceived attacks on the legality of the Affordable Care Act, the health care law at issue in a case that goes before the U.S. Supreme Court on November 10th.
The ways in which you may serve as a justice will do irreparable harm.
They are trying to push through a justice who has been critical of upholding the Affordable Care Act, and they're doing it in the middle of a pandemic.
I will oppose your nomination. Your nomination is about the Republican goal of repealing the Affordable Care Act.
Judge Barrett, you're on the record. You wrote an article in which you criticized the NFIB versus Sebelius case, where Chief Justice Roberts was the deciding vote upholding the ACA.
Republican senators came to her defense on health care.
Then Professor Barrett criticized Chief Justice Roberts' conclusion that the Affordable Care Act penalty was actually a tax. Her comments dealt with a provisional law that's no longer in effect. So the legal questions before the court this fall are entirely separate.
And on her Catholic beliefs.
Now, the Constitution says that people of faith, like Judge Barrett, are welcome in high office, welcome in any office, welcome throughout our public life here in this country.
The next 2 days are expected to be very long. Senators will have 30 minutes each to question Judge Barrett. Now, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has already put out a statement. He says that Senate Democrats and the Judiciary Committee will do everything that they can to stall this vote. He even went so far to say that they will possibly boycott the Senate committee vote. We'll have to wait and see. Mark?
Correspondent Eric Rosales reporting from Capitol Hill. Thanks, Eric. Joining me now on Skype to talk more about today's hearing is Gail Trotter, spokeswoman for Judicial Crisis Network, which supports Judge Barrett's nomination. Gail, welcome back.
Great to be with you again.
It seems like much of this first day of hearings was spent, laying the groundwork for the rest of the week. Democrats continue to make the point this whole process is moving too fast. They say it should be delayed until after the election so the American people can have a say. What's your response to that?
This is according to historical precedent. As you know, the Senate confirmation and nomination process is a two-key operation. The president has the power under the Constitution to nominate judges for the service at the Supreme Court, and the Senate has the confirmation power. So this is something that the founders understood, that they put into place, and we're seeing it play out exactly as it should under our Constitution. The Democrats are throwing tantrums because they cannot oppose effectively the confirmation of Judge Barrett. And she has shown herself to be fair, independent, faithful to the Constitution. She is someone who has impeccable legal credentials, and she's a good, compassionate person in her personal life. So the Democrats in the Senate and their media allies are trying to paint her in an unfavorable light. They're trying attacks that they've used in the past against her. I think we're going to see more of that over the next 2 days. And unfortunately, they should try to respect her as a woman who has amazing qualifications for the Supreme Court, that people even on the left side of the aisle who worked with her as Supreme Court clerks when she was a clerk for Justice Scalia, who worked with her at various law schools where she was a professor, they have all spoken about her high legal credentials and what a good person she is as well. So Democrats in the Senate should take the lead from these other people who know Judge Barrett, understand her legal philosophy. They should pay her respect. They can obviously question her in a hard manner, but they should do it with civility and respect that any American nominated to the highest bench deserves, but particularly Judge Barrett deserves.
And I want to ask you, as we heard in Eric's report, we're also seeing Democrats link Judge Barrett's nomination to the fate of the Affordable Care Act. What message do you think that sends?
Well, this is what I'm saying, that the Senate Democrats are trying to take pages out of history in ways that they have attacked other Republican nominees. Ted Kennedy tried to create a parade of horribles against Judge Bork when he was nominated by Ronald Reagan in the 1980s, and he was successful in defeating the confirmation of Judge Bork. However, the Democrats also tried this with justices like Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman on the Supreme Court nominated by Republican President Ronald Reagan. They also tried this against Anthony Kennedy, saying that O'Connor and Kennedy would rule a certain way in any abortion cases that came before the Supreme Court, and that was not the case. Think about this. They are life-tenured judges. They will see so many cases and controversies, and the Democrats are trying to make this about one case, one issue, and the proper place for a discussion of that issue are in different committees of the Senate and the House and before the full Senate and the House, and not in the Senate confirmation process, because they certainly cannot say what Judge Barrett would decide once she is on the Supreme Court. And they're trying, I think, to frighten Americans about this, but that's not the proper role of the judiciary. And Judge Barrett knows that judges should not put their personal policy preferences on their judicial rulings, and instead they should interpret the law as it was written and uphold the rule of law, and that protects all Americans.
Well, that's all the time we have to talk about it today, but we'll be following it throughout the week. Gail Trotter, spokeswoman for Judicial Crisis Network, thank you.
Great to be with you.
President Donald Trump returns to the campaign trail 1 week after leaving the hospital. He's holding a Make America Great Again rally this evening in Florida. With the election just over 3 weeks away, the candidates are crisscrossing the country trying to sway voters. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen?
Mark, the world was shocked when it was first learned that President Trump had been infected by the coronavirus. There was speculation on his health just about every day, experts weighing in. Well, tonight, President Trump on Twitter is making it clear he is rallying back.
President Donald Trump writes, "See you in Sanford, Florida tonight for a big rally." And as Americans line up to cast early ballots, the president also tweets, "November 3rd will be the most exciting day in U.S. election history, even more so than 2016.
I'm feeling great. I don't know about you. How's everyone feeling?
Just this past weekend, the president, fresh off a battle with a disease that has killed more than 1 million people globally, came out fired up.
We got to vote. We got to vote these people into oblivion.
In what the White House called a peaceful protest for law and order, the president spoke from the balcony to the crowd on the South Lawn below, his first public appearance after being hospitalized with COVID-19.
But before going any further, I want to thank all of you for your prayers. I know you've been praying, and I was in that hospital.
Meanwhile, Vice President Mike Pence also on the campaign trail, Monday making a stop in Battleground, Ohio.
If you cherish faith and freedom, law and order and life, in 22 days, we need you to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years.
Also today in the Buckeye State, which President Trump won convincingly in 2016, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden.
That's why my Build Back Better plan is built around a simple concept. It's time to reward work, not wealth. Work.
As for getting back on the debate stage,
the president's ready to debate, and his doctors have cleared him for participating in public engagements. They've said he's no longer a risk for transmission.
One more difference between both candidates today, of course, is Columbus Day. President Trump celebrated the day in a proclamation. Joe Biden, as others do, calls today Indigenous Peoples Day. Mark?
White House correspondent Owen Jensen reporting tonight. Thanks, Owen. A ceasefire between Armenia and Azerbaijan failed almost as soon as it started on Saturday. Last night, bombing of civilian areas were caught on surveillance cameras. Video shows the moment airstrikes hit one city in Azerbaijan. Officials claim 9 civilians were killed. A ceasefire was brokered by Russia over the weekend. Both Armenia and Azerbaijan are accusing each other of violating it. Iran is reporting its highest death toll from COVID-19 for a second day in a row. 272 deaths were recorded today, and more than 4,000 new cases were confirmed. Officials in Tehran say there were 251 deaths yesterday. 4 Swiss guards have tested positive for coronavirus. The 4 are in isolation after feeling symptoms earlier today. They joined 3 other Vatican residents who tested positive for the coronavirus in recent weeks. This comes after 38 new guards were sworn in a little over a week ago. And Pope Francis met today with Cardinal George Pell, the Australian cardinal who spent 400 days in jail before being acquitted of child sexual abuse. The two met today for 30 minutes. Their discussion took place in private, but a source tells EWTN's Catholic news agency the meeting was, quote, very warm and cordial. Cardinal Pell had been the financial chief at the Vatican. The 79-year-old left in July 2017 to face charges of child sexual abuse. Joining me now is Andrea Gagliarducci, Vatican analyst for EWTN News. Why did Cardinal Pell return to Rome, and what do you think he will do now?
Well, Cardinal Pell returned to Rome because he planned to return to Rome. He thought that he was going to spend some time in Rome. He still has an apartment assigned to him when he was working here in Rome as prefect of the Secretariat for the Economy. So he didn't have time to pack all of his things when he left out of the blue because he had to clear his name and to defend from infamous allegations. And now he's back. He will likely stay here until June. He will rest. He will talk to people. He has this meeting with the Pope this morning that has been described by him as warm and cordial, and it lasted some 30 minutes. And I think he will just try to pack his things because the main plan is to get back to Sydney.
And over the weekend, the Vatican made changes to a law on transparency, supervision, and financial information. Can you tell us about those changes?
Well, these changes are mostly technical changes. We know that the Holy See has a monetary agreement with the European Union that was signed in 2009. So after this monetary agreement, they have to set up a law. This law has been changed many times since it was set up, but that's normal procedures because, European Union always updates the directives on which the laws are based. And so all the states that comply with the laws have to comply with the new directives. So actually, it's kind of very technical. It's not a big change. Actually, it would not be even a big news. Somebody linked it to the on-site visit inspection by the European Council, the Council of Europe Committee Moneyval, but it's not very much related because this is something about just the laws in Europe.
And now this comes after a 2-week on-site inspection by the Council of Europe's Anti-Money Laundering Committee. Is this related to the new changes?
Well, as I said, it's not related because one thing is the committee, one thing is the European Union laws. The committee came to the Holy See for a progress report that will be discussed in April at the Council of Europe plenary. The committee is called Moneyval. And so the progress report will be on the effectiveness of the Holy See money laundering system. What does it mean? It means that they're going to see how the Holy See during these last 5 years complied with norms, how many prosecutions they did after the inspections, after the suspicious transactions reports. So it's kind of a different thing, and that's why they're not related, although it's, it's tempting to see them related.
Andrea, are there any other changes we should be aware of?
Yeah, Pope Francis has renewed the Cardinals Commission of the IOR, the so-called Vatican Bank. The Vatican Bank has a Cardinals Commission. The previous Cardinal Commission was appointed in 2014. It's interesting to see that it is the first time ever there is not the Secretary of State represented into the Cardinal Commission. So Cardinal Parolin is no longer a member. Actually, until Pope Francis, the Secretary of State always had the presidency. It always had chaired this commission, but even Pope Francis already changed the chairmanship, and the new chairman was Cardinal Avril, that is now 84 and is still the president. And now Cardinal Parolin is out, and this was replaced by Cardinal Petrocchi, that is Archbishop of L'Aquila, and that Pope Francis granted with other key positions in the Vatican Economic Affairs. He's member of the Council for the Economy, is also member of the Commission for Vatican City-State.
Andrea Galeoducci, Vatican analyst for EWTN News. As always, thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Coming up, Supreme Court battle. Is it fair to question the faith of the nominee to the nation's highest court? Our next guest weighs in. We continue now with our coverage of the first day of confirmation hearings for Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Hearings being closely watched for both their content and their tone. Joining me now on Skype to help us take a closer look at this is Vince Colonnese, editorial director at the Daily Caller. Vince, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Both parties are using the other's words to make their case. Let's start with the Democrats. They say the president has made clear he wants to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, and he's willing to do that by appointing conservative justices. What do you make of this attempt to link Judge Barrett's nomination to the upcoming court case?
Well, this is all about electoral politics. Democrats are hoping desperately to convince voters to support them and the guy at the top of the ticket, Joe Biden, this November. So they're using a wedge issue to do that, which is health care. So, it's interesting. This sounds like a health care hearing actually playing out on Capitol Hill right now. But instead, what it really is and is supposed to be is a confirmation process for Amy Coney Barrett, the judge. And the truth is, she is not supposed to make policy. That's not the point of the United States Supreme Court. As much as Democrats may suggest that that's the case, her job is to faithfully interpret both the law and the Constitution based on how those laws and the Constitution itself are written. And I think that's what we'll hear from her this week.
Republicans brought up previous anti-Catholic comments from Democrats. We did not hear the Democrats talk about Barrett's faith today. And Joe Biden said earlier today it should not be considered. As a Catholic, what's your reaction as you watch all this unfold?
I think it'd be a big mistake if they attack her for her faith, if they attack her for being Catholic, or they try and suggest that anything that's completely within the mainstream of Catholicism is somehow extreme or radical or out of place. That would be a giant mistake for a bunch of reasons, including that election I just referenced. The last thing Democrats want to do is alienate Catholics right now, when it looks like Joe Biden, if you look at the polling, has some advantage among Catholics. They don't want to lose that. They don't want to lose that. So it would be, I think, an unforced error if they attack Amy Coney Barrett for her Catholicism.
Meanwhile, Joe Biden still refuses to answer questions on court packing. In your opinion, what are the implications of that, and could it backfire?
Big time. And this is the reason why he's not answering the question. He's afraid that the risk is much higher by answering it. So here's what he's doing. He's straddling two sides of an interesting fence. On one side, he's got his base, the left, the much more radical left, who wants to see him commit to packing the Supreme Court, adding more justices to the Supreme Court. On the other side, he's concerned that Republican voters and people who voted for Trump, especially in 2016, on the basis of his ability to make a Supreme Court pick, might show up again, that this might help support for Trump. Because packing the Supreme Court literally, quite literally, means just creating an extension of the party of the president who does it. It would be making the court itself not a check and balance as prescribed by our founders, but instead a political body designed to push through anything Democrats pass by way of law and to ensure that it's protected forever, that the court will be able to make policies that the Democratic Party likes. That's not what the court is for. It's for ruling on these disputes and ensuring that the Constitution is followed faithfully.
Vince, the week is just starting. What will you be watching as this week unfolds, as these hearings unfold?
Those attacks that you just referred to, Democrats have not hesitated to bring out the most vicious and scurrilous at times attacks against some of the president's nominees, particularly for the Supreme Court. I'm on guard for that this week. I really hope it doesn't drop to that level. I hope the argument really is about whether or not she will remain faithful to the Constitution and the laws. But nothing surprises us in 2020. It could stoop to that, so prepare yourself for that. But in the end, I'm looking for this process being complete over the course of the next week, and then a vote on Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation clearing the Judiciary Committee, possibly 10 days from now.
Okay, Vince Colonnese, editorial director at the Daily Caller. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you very much.
Today is Columbus Day, and tonight on EWTN, there's an examination of the life of Christopher Columbus. Courage and Conviction, the true story of Christopher Columbus, seeks to set the record straight about the explorer. It focuses on his desire to spread the word of God and argues Catholics and all Americans should be grateful to him. It airs tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Up next, the beatification of the Italian teen who is known for his passion for communications, technology, and his devotion to the Eucharist. Pope Francis asked people around the world to take the journey toward protecting the planet.
Il suo impatto sull'ambiente e la dignità della persona.
The Holy Father made the comments in a TED Talk, a series featuring video messages from celebrities and other public figures. Pope Francis proposed a three-step journey that focuses on education, water and nutrition, and clean energy. He also calls for governments to put people at the core of all decisions. Pope Francis also says to enter God's kingdom, we all need to open our hearts and have a willingness for conversion.
Chiamate tutti, buoni e cattivi, tutti.
At his Sunday address at the Vatican, the Holy Father says God calls everyone, the good and the bad, the intelligent and the uneducated. He says go beyond the narrow views of thinking so that we can invite others to get to know the Lord too. Finally tonight, Pope Francis calls on young Christians around the world to look at the life of a late 15-year-old computer programmer as a model of holiness. He made these remarks from the Vatican as Carlo Acutis was being beatified in the town of Assisi in central Italy. EWTN's Vatican correspondent Colm Flynn brings us a report of Saturday's beatification.
Surrounded by the hills of Umbria and the forests of Monte Sumbasio, Assisi is one of the best preserved medieval towns in the world and the birthplace of St. Francis of Assisi. And this past Saturday, the town was alive as people from near and far arrived to celebrate the beatification of Carlo Acutis. The celebrations of this beatification actually started a week ago when the tomb of Carlo was opened and put on display. It attracted many young people who were able to see for the first time a soon-to-be saint dressed in ordinary typical clothes of a boy his age. Carlo was 15 when he died of leukemia in 2006. He had incredibly strong faith and used his knowledge of computer programming to create a special website dedicated to the promotion of the Eucharist. The Mass was celebrated by Cardinal Vellini at St. Francis's Basilica and was watched on a live feed in different squares and churches around the town. Young pilgrims who were in attendance said Carlo is someone they can look up to as a role model.
Because he lived in the same world as we do. He is very close to us and the way we live, and I think it is very moving to have such an example of an exemplary life.
He gives me this hope of our time is just as good as any other to be holy.
As the sun set over Assisi, it marked the end of another step in the path to sainthood for Carlo Acutis. Colm Flynn, EWTN News Nightly.
An inspirational story indeed. We thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Mark Irons. Good night and God bless.